unleashed waves of drone attacks on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, overnight, as the city marks the anniversary of its founding.
Look at them, right?
It's terrible.
So,
it's horrific.
bodies, arms, heads, legs, all over.
We begin tonight overseas with the war in Ukraine, where Russia is inflicting a new type of terror on several major cities.
Russia, you leave it the way it is right now. They can negotiate something later on down the line. But I said
July 9th, 2025, 2:47 a.m. 728 drones launched simultaneously, heading toward Ukraine from multiple directions. The largest single drone attack in military history. Not 50 drones, not 100, 728. And they weren't targeting military bases. They were aiming for something far more sinister. Ukraine's energy grid, power plants, gas facilities, the infrastructure that keeps an entire nation alive during wartime. Within hours, entire regions went dark. Families huddled in shelters. And Russia proved it had perfected a new kind of warfare, one designed not to defeat soldiers, but to break civilians. By fact number 6, you'll discover the terrifying escalation pattern Russia followed. By fact 12, you'll learn the economic devastation this caused. And by fact 17, you'll understand why this attack changed everything about modern warfare. This isn't just another drone strike. This is Russia's strategy to freeze Ukraine into submission. And it's working. The record-breaking assault, July 9th, 2025. Russia launched 728 Shahed drones and 13 missiles at Ukraine overnight. The previous record? 539 drones just 5 days earlier. Think about that. Russia broke their own record by nearly 200 drones in less than a week. The primary target? Lutsk, a city in northwestern Ukraine, just 125 miles from the Polish border. But this wasn't just about Lutsk. 10 other Ukrainian regions were hit simultaneously. Kyiv, Kharkiv, Dnipro, Zaporizhzhia, Odessa. Ukrainian air defenses destroyed 718 drones and intercepted 7 missiles. Sounds impressive, right? Except 10 drones and 6 hypersonic missiles still got through. And those that got through? They hit exactly what Russia intended. At least 1 civilian killed, 8 more in Donetsk. Energy infrastructure damaged. Power outages across multiple cities. Fires raging through the night. And here's what makes this terrifying. This wasn't a one-time attack. This was part of a systematic campaign that had been escalating for weeks. The escalation nobody saw coming. Let's look at the timeline. June 2025. 232 civilians killed. The highest monthly toll in 3 years. July 4th. 537 drones and missiles launched. Previous record at the time. July 9th. 741 total aerial attack vehicles. 728 drones plus 13 missiles. Russia wasn't just attacking, they were perfecting a new strategy. Overwhelm air defenses through sheer numbers. Launch so many drones that even a 95% interception rate means dozens get through. And it worked. Ukrainian air defense systems are excellent. Patriot missiles, Western-supplied F-16 fighters, electronic warfare jamming. But there's a limit to how many targets you can intercept simultaneously. Russian military planners figured out that limit, and they exceeded it. Deliberately, systematically, repeatedly. This is saturation warfare taken to a horrifying new level. The Shade drone, Russia's weapon of choice, the Shahed. Iranian-designed, Russian-produced, cheap, deadly, effective. Cost per unit? Approximately $20,000 to $50,000. Compare that to a Ukrainian Patriot interceptor missile at $4 million each. The economics are devastating. Ukraine spends $4 million to stop a $50,000 drone. Launch 728 drones? That's roughly $36 million total cost for Russia. If Ukraine intercepts 700 of them with Patriot missiles, that's $2.8 billion in defensive costs. See the problem? Russia can afford to launch thousands of drones. Ukraine cannot afford to intercept them all with expensive missiles. The Shahed has a range of hundreds of kilometers, carries an 80-pound warhead, flies low and slow, making it difficult for radar to track, can loiter over targets for hours, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And Russia has scaled up production dramatically. They're manufacturing thousands per month. Iranian facilities, Russian factories. A steady supply of cheap, effective weapons specifically designed to overwhelm defenses. Why energy infrastructure? Russia isn't stupid. They learned from 2022 and 2023. Direct military confrontation with Ukraine? Difficult, expensive, high casualties. But attacking energy infrastructure? That affects every single Ukrainian. No electricity means no heat in winter, no water pumps, no hospitals running at full capacity, no manufacturing, no internet, no modern life. By July 2025, Ukraine only had 1/3 of its pre-war electricity generating capacity. Russian strikes had systematically destroyed power plants, substations, transmission lines, and gas facilities. Energy Minister Herman Halushchenko stated it clearly. Russia is trying to hurt ordinary Ukrainians by striking energy and gas production facilities, without abandoning its goal of leaving us without light and heat. This is economic warfare, psychological warfare, and it's devastatingly effective. You don't need to defeat the Ukrainian military if you can freeze the Ukrainian population. The strategy is brutal but simple. Make survival itself impossible. Force capitulation through suffering. The Lutsk target, strategic brilliance. Why Lutsk? Because Lutsk isn't just any city. It's home to Ukrainian military airfields, critical logistics hubs. Western military aid flows through Lutsk before being distributed to the front lines. Cargo planes land there. Fighter jets are based there. Ammunition is stored there. Fuel is stockpiled there. Hitting Lutsk means disrupting Ukraine's entire logistics network. It's not about destroying one power plant. It's about crippling the supply chain that keeps Ukraine's military functioning. Governor Ivan Rudnitsky said it clearly. Virtually everything was flying towards Lutsk. 50 drones and 5 missiles targeted just that one region overnight, and it's dangerously close to NATO territory, just 125 miles from Poland. When Russia launches hundreds of drones toward Lutsk, Polish air defenses scramble. NATO fighters launch. The risk of miscalculation becomes terrifying. One stray Russian drone crosses into Polish airspace, and you've got a potential Article 5 situation. That's not hyperbole. That's the reality of warfare, this close to NATO borders. The Polish response. Poland didn't just watch. They scrambled fighter jets, put air defenses on highest alert, activated radar systems across the entire eastern border. Polish Operational Command stated, Polish and Allied aircraft are operating in our airspace. Ground-based air defense and radar reconnaissance systems have been brought to the highest state of readiness. This happened multiple times in July alone. Every massive Russian attack on Ukraine triggers Polish defensive responses. Because when 728 drones are airborne, some will inevitably drift toward NATO territory. And it's not just Poland. Around 20 Russian drones entered Polish airspace in September 2025. Denmark reported Russian naval vessels tracking Danish ships with weapons systems locked on. Lithuania's Vilnius airport closed for hours due to suspected Russian drone activity. Russia is pushing boundaries, testing NATO responses, seeing how close they can get without triggering a military response. It's brinkmanship, it's dangerous, and it's deliberate. The civilian toll. Let's talk about the people, because behind every statistic is a family destroyed. In Lviv, a family of 4 was killed when their residential building was destroyed. One of them was a 15-year-old girl. In Zaporizhzhia, 73,000 customers lost power. In Chernihiv, 30,000 households went dark. In Dnipro, a missile with cluster munitions hit a multi-story building. 30 people injured. The UN reported that in June 2025 alone, 232 civilians were killed and 1,343 injured, the highest monthly toll in 3 years. First half of 2025, 6,754 civilians killed or injured, a 54% increase from 2024. Schools damaged, hospitals hit, residential buildings destroyed, an oncology center struck. This isn't collateral damage. Russian military doctrine explicitly targets civilian infrastructure. The goal? Break morale. Create so much suffering that Ukrainians demand their government surrender. Make the cost of resistance unbearable. It's a war crime. It's terrorism. And Russia does it systematically. Ukraine's air defense struggle. Ukraine's air defense is remarkable. Shooting down 718 out of 728 drones is a 98.6% success rate. That's extraordinary by any military standard. But here's the problem. Even a 98.6% success rate means 10 drones get through. And those 10 can cause massive damage. Ukraine uses a layered defense system. Patriot missiles for high-value targets, NASAMS for medium-range threats, electronic warfare to jam drone navigation, mobile air defense units positioned strategically, French Mirage 2,000 fighters deployed for the first time in this attack, and F-16 to intercept aerial threats. But defensive systems have limits. Patriot interceptors are expensive and finite. Ukraine doesn't have unlimited supplies. Electronic warfare works on some drones, but not all. Fighters can only be airborne for so long. And Russia knows this. That's why they launch 728 drones at once. Overwhelm the system. Exhaust the supply. Eventually, something gets through. It's a brutal calculus. And Ukraine is losing the mathematics game despite heroic defensive efforts. The Trump factor. This attack happened hours after President Trump made comments about the war. He just pledged to send more defensive weapons to Ukraine. Then criticized Putin, saying he was not happy with Russian actions. Russia's response? Launched the largest drone attack in history. The timing wasn't coincidental. This was a message to Washington. Your weapons won't save Ukraine. Your support doesn't matter. We can scale up attacks faster than you can scale up aid. And there's another layer. Trump had previously paused weapons deliveries to Ukraine amid uncertainty over U.S. commitments. Then reversed course. Then made vague promises. Russia watches this chaos and calculates. If American support is unreliable, Ukraine is vulnerable. And vulnerable opponents can be broken through sustained pressure. The July 9th attack was strategic communication. Russia telling Trump, NATO, and Ukraine, "We will not be deterred. We will escalate, and we will win through attrition." The economic devastation. Let's talk numbers. By mid-2024, Ukraine had lost two-thirds of its pre-war electricity generating capacity. Power plants destroyed, substations damaged, transmission lines severed. DTAK, Ukraine's largest private energy company, reported that its facilities were hit 6 times in 2.5 weeks in early 2025. 6 times in just over 2 weeks. The cost? Billions in infrastructure damage. Billions more in lost economic productivity. Manufacturing plants can't operate without power. Hospitals struggle. Communications break down. Modern economies require electricity. Destroy the grid. Destroy the economy. And winter is coming. Ukraine's cold season runs from November to March. Temperatures drop below freezing. Without heating, people die. Russia knows this. That's why they intensify attacks as winter approaches. The July attacks were preparation. A message: surrender before winter or freeze. It's economic terrorism on a national scale. The double-tap strategy. Here's something truly evil. Russia uses double-tap strikes. First drone hits a target. Emergency responders rush to the scene. Then a second drone strikes the responders. In Chernihiv, 3 medics responded to an initial drone strike. As they treated the injured, a second drone hit them directly. All 6 people, original victims plus medics, were hospitalized. This isn't accidental. It's deliberate targeting of emergency services. The goal? Make Ukrainians afraid to help each other, slow down rescue operations, maximize casualties. It's a war crime under the Geneva Conventions. Deliberately targeting medical personnel and emergency responders is illegal. Russia does it anyway, and it has psychological effects beyond the immediate casualties. People hesitate to help. Rescue services wait longer before deploying. Every delayed response means more deaths from the initial strike. It's systematic cruelty designed to break social cohesion. Ukraine's retaliation strategy. Ukraine doesn't just defend, they strike back. The same weekend as Russia's 728 drone attack, Ukrainian forces hit 2 Russian oil refineries in Saratov and Samara regions. The Saratov refinery processes 2.54% of Russia's total oil refining capacity, over 7 million tons annually. Damage there impacts Russia's fuel supplies and export revenues. This is Ukraine's counter-strategy. You hit our energy infrastructure, we hit yours. But there's a difference. Ukrainian strikes are more precise. They target military supporting infrastructure with specific economic impact. Russian strikes aim for maximum civilian suffering. Ukrainian strikes aim for maximum economic pressure on the Kremlin's war machine. As of October 2025, roughly 1 in 3 Russian refineries has been hit by Ukrainian drones. Russian fuel exports dropped to their lowest levels since early 2022. Domestic gasoline shortages forced Russia to ban fuel exports. Ukraine is succeeding in making the war expensive for Russia. Every refinery damaged costs Moscow millions in lost revenue and repairs. The pattern continues. July 9th wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a new phase. September 2025. Russia launched attacks with over 600 drones and missiles in a single night, killing 5 and wounding dozens. The escalation continues. More drones, more missiles, more damage. Russia is now launching approximately 20,000 drones annually, averaging 3,500 per month. That's more than triple the rate recorded in 2024. Each attack refines their tactics. They learn which routes avoid air defenses, which times minimize interception rates, Which targets cause maximum disruption? This isn't random violence. It's a systematically optimized campaign to destroy Ukraine's ability to function as a modern state. The international response. The UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights condemned Russia's attacks. Many casualties occurred in residential areas far from any military targets. The European Commission called the strikes barbaric. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg called them horrific and indiscriminate. President Zelensky described them as absolute evil and terrorism. But condemnations don't stop drones. Words don't restore power grids. Statements don't protect civilians. The international community watches, issues sanctions, provides some military aid. But the fundamental problem remains. Russia can launch drones faster than the West can supply interceptors. The winter weapon. Russia's timing is calculated. They intensify energy attacks as winter approaches. By November 2025, temperatures will drop below freezing across Ukraine. No power means no heating. No heating means hypothermia. Hypothermia means death, especially for elderly and vulnerable populations. Russian strategy explicitly uses winter as a weapon. The 2022 to 2023 winter saw massive attacks on Ukraine's grid. The 2023 to 2024 winter saw more. And 2024 to 2025, the attacks are even more severe, deliberately depriving Ukrainians of electricity and heating during winter was called the biggest attack on a nation's health since World War II by health experts. It's not just uncomfortable, it's lethal. Russia knows this. That's why they're escalating now. The cost asymmetry problem. Here's the strategic nightmare Ukraine faces. Russia launches a $36 million drone attack. Ukraine spends $2.8 billion defending with Patriot missiles. Russia can afford to lose this equation. Ukraine cannot. Even with Western aid, there's a limit to how many expensive interceptors can be supplied. And Russia is scaling up drone production while defense production struggles to keep pace. The economics favor the attacker. This changes everything about modern warfare. Cheap drones beating expensive defenses. Mass overwhelming quality. Quantity having its own quality. What happens next? Russia will continue these attacks. They've proven effective. They're relatively cheap. They cause massive damage. And international pressure hasn't stopped them. Ukraine will keep defending, keep retaliating, keep surviving. But the strain is immense. You can't win a war if your entire country is without power. Winter 2025 to 2026 will be brutal. Russia will intensify attacks. Ukraine will face impossible choices. Use interceptors on drones or save them for ballistic missiles? And the world watches. Some nations help. Some nations offer words. Some nations stay silent. The future of warfare. July 9th, 2025, marked something bigger than one attack. It marked the moment drone swarm warfare became the new normal. 728 drones launched simultaneously, coordinated across multiple axes, overwhelming defenses through sheer numbers. This is the future. Not expensive fighter jets, not sophisticated cruise missiles, cheap, mass-produced drones in overwhelming quantities. And every military in the world is taking notes. What Russia perfected against Ukraine will be studied, copied, and deployed globally. The drone revolution isn't coming. It arrived on July 9th, 2025, and modern warfare will never be the same. Here's the final horror. By October 2025, Russia was averaging 3,500 drone launches per month. That's 117 drones per day. every single day. Think about that. Ukrainian air defense crews wake up every morning knowing that over 100 Russian drones will be launched at their country that day. Every single day. There's no rest, no downtime, no relief. Just constant, grinding, exhausting defense against an enemy with seemingly unlimited drones. That's not a war. That's a siege. And it's the reality Ukraine faces every single day. July 9th, 2025. 728 drones. The largest single attack in military history. And it was just one night in a war that shows no signs of ending. Russia proved they could launch drone swarms that overwhelm any defense. Ukraine proved they could shoot down 98.6% of them. And the world learned that modern warfare has fundamentally changed. If this shocked you, hit that like button. Comment which fact you found most disturbing. And subscribe, because this war is far from over, and Russia's next attack might be even larger. This is the new face of warfare, and Ukraine is living through it every single day.